Um, so, um, so actually, the discussion I feel is still connected to Barty's last talk, and I think I mentioned that already last time. The idea was actually already on my mind before I had seen Barty's material. So the question that was on my mind was, on the one hand, there's the Ashtavakra Gita, which can be succinctly summarized in one sentence, which is desire, now at last stop. And how does that compare to Ramesh Balsakar's assertion that there is no free will? So, in other words, do we have that free will to stop? That is the question. And when I thought about it, I came to the power of observation, which I think is also something Vinod has been talking about for a long time. So, and I was really grateful when I saw Vinod's Osho write-up. It was exactly what I wanted to communicate. So he says modern man is there to attain something. All right. So the spiritual path, with the power of observation, we can watch our own agenda. We can awaken to our subconscious agenda, which is really important. And that's why I loved Osho's write up, because we can also fool ourselves by running after enlightenment, not understanding that there are actually other motives lurking in the depths of our subconscious. In a sense, we just don't like what we see and we want to be better off in the future, which is exactly the same um, the same carrot in front of the donkey that modern man also has. And then I distributed an author who's called Emily Snow. Um, she writes very prolifically on Facebook. I really like her writings. And she quoted Dzogchen. I don't know how to pronounce him, but I know we also earlier had a presentation on him.
Dzogchen.
Okay. And in a sense, what he describes is the problem of the sticky fingers. You can feel when you have sticky fingers. So we might be just like the bee behind me at the lilac bush. We cannot help going after the fruit. But in contrast to the bee, we can actually feel when we have sticky fingers, and we can contrast that to a point in time when I was just experienced without any clinging, without any escaping. And we remember how more beautiful that was. And as I said, the desire to escape is just the mirror image of having sticky fingers. So, in summary, what we do have is the power of observation, and nobody can take that away from us. All right, with that, I open the discussion.
I guess I'll start
All
it
right,
off.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the material. I enjoyed reading it. I guess to relate it to a sort of my own personal experience. Um, I did a poetry reading recently. This was my second open mic, and there was a lot of very uh, seasoned poets been doing it, winning contests going around the country. And it was me just starting it, and the I'm pretty confident with the writing, but the presenting it, is a skill in and of itself. So there was a lot of nerves. And I did a little sort of afterwards investigation. It's into myself where that all came from, and this fear of being seen, and this part that wants to hide, and how the voice is constricted, and I'm coming from the throat and all of this stuff. And I had this big insight into it where like at 5 in the morning, there was a huge insight and like I felt it in my system, like energy running through, and I felt like, wow. And then the like, okay, I found what it is. But then I also said, but that's not what it is. I'm already that, you know. So it's the disclaimer of or the y yes, do the things and go f for the things and the human ways that we express in this world, but also there was this feeling of, but this doing this is not going to get you to where you already are, and so it's when you talked about the sort of the sticky fingers,
Mhm.
that came to my mind because it's so easily we could be chasing that carrot and miss, you know, because the the world of concepts and value systems that we create, they're not inherent in and of itself, but and the comparison and the judgment, it's all coming from the mind. And so yeah, thank you for the read, and I enjoyed it.
No, that's a beautiful example because that's exactly how it works. It's literally, I would call it a simultaneous equation where afterwards everything just resolves to zero equals zero.
Yeah.
But you first have to solve it, otherwise you will not get there. All right, who's next? Yes, Shweta.
Christian, I really enjoyed the first video you sent, and then you sent another one as well. Um, and actually, touching on the ones that you sent earlier, uh, but that was to do with enlightenment. And several thoughts came to my mind when I read that particular one. And it was just like, well, yeah, in a sense, enlightenment, uh, it will come when it's meant to come, when the time and actually the circumstances are right, and it may not be in this life, it may be, whenever, but it will come. Um, and you went on to say in that second thing, which is from Vinod's Osho book, that enlightenment isn't a goal, and that life is perfect and things like that. And that reminded me of another post that you sent, I think sometime in March, where you say you speak about nothing in your life being random. I just kind of connected the two up, and I thought it's if life is perfect, but nothing in your life is random, and whatever happens, then therefore happens um, in that's necessary. Whatever happens is necessary to form us. That's what you were kind of saying in your, I think it was a couple of months ago. Um, and again, I thought the two linked very well because you talk about the trust unfolding and trusting the timing and the unfolding, which actually for me brought that onto the second post that you sent, which is about observation or observing. And I've noticed, probably as one gets older, that just observing, as in not in the strict sense that sometimes the word is used here, but just generally looking back, observing the things that have happened or not happened in one's life. You can see a pattern or some kind of message. Now, and I certainly see that. Um, and sometimes the reason for something happening unfolds and becomes clear, sometimes pretty quickly or a little bit down the line, and sometimes it doesn't. But I always accept that there must be a reason. Equally, there's a reason why I still don't know, perhaps. So it's just trusting that, and trusting that there is going to be a reason, and going with it, in a sense, going with the flow of it. Um, as I said, I've certainly tried, and I actually, maybe I shouldn't do this, but I do think about some of the messages or patterns that emerge from my, if you like, all these years. And I can, I can, I think of reasons or cause and effect kind of thing. And I give that a thought, but it always comes back to this whole thing that there was a reason, good or bad, there was a reason. And usually I've noticed that sometimes something is not very nice when it happens, but there's always something to be learned or gained, possibly from that, which one isn't aware of at that time because one's so caught up in whatever it is that is one that you're going through. But later on, you think, oh well, that happened perhaps because I was meant to do this was meant to be happen afterwards. And yeah, so I've really enjoyed not only the post you sent now, but I'm not sure I mentioned the one that you sent in March earlier, but that was lovely as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that. In a sense, what you describe is very similar to Adi's point, only you refer to years where he talks about a microsecond when the first feeling is, oh, I know what it is, and the second feeling is, but I'm not that. Whereas in other cases, it may take years to get exactly to that point. Yeah. All right. Who wants to go next? Yeah.
I'm just
Marty.
going to mention from each of the posts, I loved all of them. What really struck me, the one of Osho's was the sentence that, whatever the goal may be that we are after, including the goal to be or to attain enlightenment, when one realizes that there is nothing to do, there is nothing to be and nothing to achieve, the whole identity evaporates. And this is enlightenment. I really like this sentence, We never think about it that way, that, just be. Even though it is there in so many posts that we read or this thing, this was my breakthrough for this particular session that really made me think deeply about it. In the second post, it was the last paragraph that was really very important to me. It's that clinging is the act of forgetting what cannot be lost. And we cling to things. It is the contraction of spaciousness into identity, of immediacy into concept. And the doctrine masters are not inviting us to improve this contraction, but to see through it entirely. It remains when the one who is seeking dissolves, and the cessation of clinging is not the loss of the world, but the unveiling of its true nature, empty, luminous, ungraspable, and free. It ties back to the first mistake that, you don't have to cling to anything, you don't have to do anything, you just be, So to me, those two things really tied up. And in the third one, again, the last paragraph, what you and I do in order to be that. We may not have any degree of freedom once our conditioned mind kicks in, but we have a superpower of observation. Observe the agenda in the reaching for and avoiding and look again. I think this was the most important statement in the last paragraph that you sent. So I think the three tied in very beautifully as far as I was concerned.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. All right, who wants to go next? Yes, Dominic.
I like the two letters very much. First is the mindfulness. And mindfulness is simple, it's easy. Many people make it very difficult. Also, they get into a lot of kind of movements, groups to get on enlightenment, but enlightenment is just there for you. Also, from the second part, clinging is the root, clinging is the root. The disappearance of suffering in the light of awareness. That's it. Clinging. It's not easy for people to be on their own. You know, many people who can be on their own without clinging, without mindfulness. It's I'm a bit confused in these two. So for me, it's here. That's it for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who goes next? Yes, Vidya.
I read Vinod's statement about Osho. I never read Osho's books or anything. Although I've come from Pune, Osho had his own ashram here. Once I thought I should go and see what happens there, but they didn't take me in, so I forgot about him. And because they said you must have blood test, you must have this, you must do that. So I said this ashram is not for me. So I never read Osho's books or any such things. But sometimes Vinod sends on Facebook, which I read. And of course, it is nice. Some statements are definitely good because he was an enlightened person. So I agree, whatever you sent, whatever is there in that Osho statement, I agree fully with his statement, which is where he said, enlightenment is not a search, it is a realization, which I agree fully. Because we are going, all of us, through this process of searching. We are searching every day. We want to be something, but we cannot be something. But I don't know, if there is no past, there is no future, there is only now, then we can't really do any search, but we should be there for that moment, like Bharti said. So I feel, and then he said, that life has no purpose, and that's why so beautiful. And again, he says life itself is a purpose. So that I had little difficulty in understanding, but still I could understand. Life has no purpose because there is no past, there is no future, there is only present. So what is the purpose of life? When we say we want, the purpose of life is finding the truth. Everyone says that. That also I have never understood. Finding a truth meaning what? If anybody could enlighten me on that. So talk, yes, I have never understood what is truth and what is the purpose of life. If that's what I want to ask you.
All right. Actually, while you were speaking, I was thinking of Shweta's point. And when you asked the question, the sentence that came to my mind was, life has a purpose for you. But the point is, there is no you.
If you are not there.
Exactly. So those are the two dimensions. And Ade also talked about it. Step number 1 and step number 2. First, you realize life has a purpose for me. And then you realize there is no me. And it all dissolves.
And done. And finished. And done.
Finished.
And done. Right? I'm like that. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong or what, but this is how I think. Many times I feel that many enlightened women talk about, they look down upon housewives. I'm not a housewife, but other housewives, they look down upon them. But their purpose is to look after their family, or they're happy. I've seen many housewives, they're happy. They are doing their work for their children, they're doing their work for their family, and they're not doing anything. They're not artists, they are not musicians, they are not working for banks or anything, any such thing. But they're happy, content. I've seen many such people. So I feel, what is the purpose when we ask them? And they are ashamed of also many times telling others that they're housewives. That also I have not understood, because they are happy and they're doing their work. So there is no purpose. There could be hidden purpose in their minds for them to look after their children and send them abroad and for studies, or do this for husband and this, nothing for themselves. This is what I have seen with many such women. So I feel that is the purpose for them in life. Okay, thank you.
Purpose in life is
One
to live.
comment on that. I think all such women, they are CEOs of their own family.
CEOs, that's right. Write that on the business
card. Take care of
card.
the entire family 24/7. So
That's right.
there is no need for them anyway to feel inferior.
A CEO and president.
They feel, I don't. I have respect for them. They are selflessly working for their family. So that selflessness is there with them. That one should understand.
CEO, COO, chairman, president, call it what you will. Can I just come back on something, Christian? You said that I was talking about purpose. What I actually meant, I wasn't talking about the purpose of my life. I haven't got a clue possibly on that one. But what I was talking about is things and patterns that emerge if one observes and everything show the purpose for that thing or the reason for that thing, maybe why it happened. That's what I meant, not that that shows my purpose in life.
But I thought what you, the way I put it, refers to Ades. So I think that the March presentation may have been a video where I said everything. So in that Satori moment, you realize there is no past, there is no future, but you also realize everything that has happened in my life has prepared me, has catapulted me to this moment. So it's the two levels. Level number 1, things did happen to get me here to this infinite moment. But level number 2, given that I'm here, there is no past, there is no future. So two equations, and they just erase each other, and all is left is 0 equals to 0.
Okay, while you were talking, I just had a quick look. The March thing I was referring to, you sent me an email on the 15th of March, and it was just, it wasn't a video or anything.
All right, I have no recollection. March is
Okay.
at least 2 years away.
Well, it was so good, I do recollect it. I
All right.
did recollect it.
All right, who wants to go next? Yeah, Nanda.
Yes, I think there are several issues I felt in this write-up. You mentioned something which I think everyone understands as Nishkam Karma Yoga, that, there's no purpose and everything that you're saying and so on. And it is a much debated thing and much discussed also. So I'm not going into that. But there is and then the other thing was Leela also you mentioned, whether it is a game and this. I think Leela is a wonderful word, and I don't know whether it is translatable in any sort of this thing. Anyhow, so these two things are very important, I think, in that whole thing, especially, and we are talking about our group, let's say. We call it, I've called this group a spiritual group, which means we are spiritually minded people, which means we are exclusive, which means that others are not so spiritual. Let's argue a little bit
Speak for
more.
yourself.
So I'm saying that you've already excluded a whole lot. Okay, we're calling that we're already on the ladder number. I mean, the step number 7 on the ladder, and you don't know how many steps to climb, etc. Let's forget that. And we're also talking about now and past and this. I'm taking 2 examples. The example of a warrior, doesn't have to be Japanese Zen samurai, but any warrior who's been asked to do a job, right? And what happens? Is he thinking about all this? Is he thinking about this? Is he thinking the body, mind, action separately? What am I to do? And this, and the whole Mahabharata gets written on this, etc. But if you are not in sync with the moment, you get killed or you win. So, all right. So if you get killed, there's no issue anymore. There is no person who is discussing this issue. And if you are victorious, then do you think that you're victorious? That's an important thing. If you think that you're not victorious, and like Ashoka, and like a warrior who is actually has demolished the opposition completely, is feeling that what is there to be done? I mean, I have not done the right thing, and so on and so forth. So there is the complex of guilt. There is a complex of being defeated. And those are the worrying things. Those are the worrying things. A person who's a mechanic, he has to fix your car. He fixes the car and he's happy. And you said, yeah, you've done a fantastic job. And does he carry that in his head? That I'm a fantastic mechanic and I'm going to have more clients? Then there is a problem. But he doesn't remember this. Like, Christian did not remember his, whatever, 17th March post, right? And you remembered this. He didn't remember this. You fixed the Rolls Royce, 100 Rolls Royces that Osho's disciples had. Required some fixing. So that is one point, that the mechanic also does not remember this. Mechanic does not remember this. And he's a good mechanic, continues doing a job. What happens in that case? If you're talking about duality, in that moment of now, who is dual and what is dual and what is duality? And I think that the two, the observer within yourself, who does not carry any burdens, is part of you. There is much closeness between the two. And there, the moment, the now is very, very evident. There is no past, there is no this, that, and the other. There is no memory collection. I think the two have to collaborate And this collaboration happens not decisively, not in a planned way, but it happens spontaneously. So that is point number one. The second point that I felt that that we are talking about bodies, and if you think of the Indian way of looking at it, there are 5 elements that make the phenomenon. The Buddhist way is four elements make the phenomenon. Now, if you think about this, these 5 elements have to be balanced. Now, who balances these 5 elements? And if you are aware of this, that you in every act of yours, or every thought of yours, or every gesture of yours, and in every moment of life, these 5 are doing their job. If you're just observant about that, then things happen. If you're not observant about this, one of the 5 elements will take over and can be very destructive, very aggressive, and you'll get all the 6 evils happening. So I think there is this nature's order, which is neither ethical nor moral, nor right nor wrong. These are the concepts that we have given to ourselves. And there's no ethical, moral, this thing, at all in the nature's order. And it's not chaotic. We think that it is chaotic because it disturbs us, disturbs our comfort zones. We think it's too hot today, it's very humid, this, that, and the other. But so I think the observation has to be active. It must be alert to the every moment of creation, every moment of small, large, whatever. And in that sense, it has no purpose, because in the sense that a flower is flowering and it has fragrance, it has no purpose. It is not flowering for us. It is not being fragrant for humans. Humans believe that they own this whole world. It is not so. So I think there is this observation which has the tremendous power, no doubt about that. And observing the elements, not in fragments, their wholeness, their collectiveness. And if you're just observing this, the act becomes extremely potent, and it's on the now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Actually, I'm happy that I recorded the session, because I will listen to this a second time around. But I do want to say one thing about what you've said, which is the arrogance of spiritual people, that they are better off than the modern men, or ever ordinary people, or whatever I want to call people who are not on a spiritual path. What you've described implies that everybody enjoys the here and now. Everybody. If you are a farmer and you go to the field and you're just one with everything you do, the cows need their food, or the CEO mom, president mom who remembers that the boy needs something for school or something like that. You're completely in the now, and nobody has a business to say, just because you don't sign up for spirituality, you are not enjoying the here and now at that moment. All right. I think if I remember correctly, we have either Andre or Vinod. Shweta wants to say something.
Yeah. No, just to come back on this, people who are or aren't on this spiritual path. How does one know when somebody isn't? It may be easier to guess when somebody is on a spiritual path. How does one know when somebody isn't? Isn't that people just making a judgment? Because one actually never knows about any individual. I mean, just because this group of us, we attend here, does that mean that our brothers or sisters or husbands or wives or partners or children aren't on the path because they're not here? I think it's very easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, I'm on the spiritual path, but the other person isn't. And I think perhaps we need to be a bit careful about that.
Yeah, no, and the other point, I just had that on my mind today. Eckhart Tolle, the way he describes himself and his past was that he was a philosopher. He studied philosophy in London, I think. but otherwise he wasn't very spiritual, and he was just deeply depressed and thought about suicide. And suddenly in one night where he felt he was sucked up by a void, he reached a much higher state of realization than people who might be on a spiritual path and looking down on others for 20 years. So you can never tell why things happen, and you just focus on yourself, and that's all you can do. All right, so either Andre or Vinod. Yeah, Andre?
I go, yes. Talking about being on a spiritual path, everybody's on a spiritual path. If you listen to people, they're on their own spiritual path. So I don't even think about that. I'm glad that Narendra, you brought up Lila, right? Because that's the paragraph that really spoke to me very loudly, because it's very simple. The difference between a game and just play. Okay, so when you just play, you watch children play in a sandbox. I don't know if kids do that anymore, but children play in a sandbox. They're not playing a game. They're not thinking I'm playing a game. They're just playing. So that really spoke loudly to me. And that's how he translated Lila Osho, right? Because something, he say, even a game has something like a purpose, a result to be attained, victory to be achieved, right? And then things that little notes in my head. There's no purpose in a moment, in a now. If you're present in a moment, there's no purpose. And so I think the difference between when we think about we're on a spiritual path is that we talk about it and we think about it, we do all this stuff. Some people are just naturally on a spiritual path, don't feel the need at all to talk about it. So, which is, I like both. I mean, both is valid. So there is no goal in a now. How can you have a goal in a now? I think it's impossible. If you're really in a now, there is no goal. I'm talking, of course, my own journey, my own intuition of what, being in a moment becomes really natural, like second nature, So at first, when I was young, I practiced sitting and being aware, being mindful, and that was very useful. But eventually, it just comes naturally. You don't have to sit to be in a moment or to be in a meditative mode, to observe. So one thing I want to say, okay, free will. I don't know what that means, so I don't like to discuss it because I don't know what free will means, I would say free will is that you have the control of whether you react or not react. Okay, this is your probably free will. And then jokingly, I am what I am, So, they mean neither this nor that I am. And I made another comment that words give me vertigo. I've been, I'm a moderator on a Living Zen. And so I have to read all this stuff, and it's words. Sometimes I feel like too many words. I want to shut it up. Too many words. Too many things are being said, and I feel almost like not enough practice. People are just love to write. Yeah, it's fine. Writing and talking, but where's the practice? That's what I wonder. So, and one more thing I want to say about observation. Observation has to be constant. That's it. So that's it for me. Thank you for sharing, Christian.
Christian, may I get a moment or so? Because I think, I need to make some things a little more explicit, maybe. When you say that there is something constant, that also has the ground of that constant is that it's neither past nor future. So it's again connected with chronological time. Whenever you say constant, but when you say constant, it's that word has again a limitation, because you say constant because it is not going somewhere and going back somewhere.
How would you
That's,
say instead? What would you say instead of
I
constant?
would say, I think now is all right because, that's why I was giving the example of a warrior because he doesn't have, he may be an intellectual man, he may be a philosopher, he may be a very, he may be an exponent of philosophy, and then he's also fighting a war. And then what happens? You know, and I'm trying to understand that this is what all of us, and I gave those examples because they are not being discursive. They are all the time in the act, and everybody is in the act, whether us or them. There is no difference between them and us. Everyone is facing this, and I mean there is some story at some point in time. I may explain that, but this is what I wanted to say. Sorry.
Vidya also had her hand up.
I have wanted to say the Leela, about Leela. Leela of a life is Leela, but Krishna Leela is again different. Krishna's Leela. Huh, Narendra? We say Krishna cha Leela.
Yeah.
These are different. And Leela, you said you liked the word Leela for this thing.
It is in the same sense. It is not a kind of a satisfaction of your desires and participating in it. It's what no plays kabuki, no plays in Japan, kabuki, and even our plays are based. It's a play. The whole life is a play that way.
That's true.
That's what it is. So it is very symbolic, and but if you say that it is an indulgence, then it has completely different meaning.
Just one sentence is Andre was asking what's the word for constant. Eckhart Tolle in the Power of Now, he says, the next moment is also now. When it
Exactly.
turns, it's always now.
Now.
So the question of when you are using the word constant in a subtle way, you are clinging otherwise.
But that's what I meant.
To this, what you are experiencing now to continue, that is a subtle clinging to what's happening now. Whereas if you are open to be just in this moment, whatever it is, it may be different the next moment, but you are in that moment.
That next moment is now.
This is a good example.
That is the only subtle difference between the two.
I think
This is a good example.
Einstein explained it so beautifully. Riding the beam of light. Riding the beam of light. This is how Einstein explains it. Sorry, I think we've got of.
This is a good example of when we hear words. We have no idea what's in the person who utters the words, what's in their head. All you know is how you receive the word. And so the word resonated a certain way in your mind, but it doesn't mean it was in your mind.
Okay.
All right.
It's how we communicate. It's a good example of when we communicate, we have to be aware of that. That what we receive is from us. Is again coming back to what's in our head. So thank you. That's how I wanted to say.
Vinod?
Yeah, hi. I think all of these three writings tie up one with the other. And, the one on Osho is, can you make enlightenment as a goal? That extract is actually from a series of extracts on enlightenment by Osho. And, a lot of you, not all of you, have access to them in that e-book of Osho, which I have sent to you, and the others can have it if they want. It's also there in the posts, but he's handled that topic extremely well in his very simple little language, and it's beautiful to read in every way, and you really learn a lot from it. Anyway, coming back to this topic of today, I'll take it in a little different way, in a very fundamental way. First of all, we need to ask this simple little question to ourselves. What are we? And we've come to a little understanding of what we are by understanding that we are the manifestation. Because the start for everything in the world is energy. That we cannot dispute. And we are manifested energy. And where did we come from? We came from the unmanifested. Simple little example, is H2O. When it is water vapor, which is there right in the air around us right now, we don't appreciate it by the five senses, which is what Narendra referred to. But the moment we extract it from the air as liquid, or which is water, or as solid, which is ice, then it becomes manifested to us. So this unmanifested is there all the time. And I'm going to use that word, it's constant. It's just there. We can't dispute it. But what happens is when it becomes manifested, it automatically undergoes certain rules of the play, of the Leela, of the manifested world. And so the whole question that comes up is, what separates the manifested world from the unmanifested? And that is what all the greats have been teaching us. And that is what we can experience for ourselves and learn through the power of observation, which Christian alludes to in his writing, is basically psychological mind. That is what separates us. And unfortunately, that is what we cling to. Coming to the, Emily Snow's clinging is the root. We cling to both the pleasant psychological mind. For instance, if somebody praises you, or we also cling to the unpleasant. For example, when someone hurts you. And that is what causes the separation. So we get stuck in the manifestation. It becomes hardened. It becomes concrete. So then the simple little question that comes up is, what unites us? And that is when we drop into a state of no mind. Mind, psychological mind separates us, no mind unites us. And that's why they all talk about dropping into silence. So if we understand just this simple little thing, and I'm sure everybody knows all this in a way, but I'm just trying to crystallize it more than anything else. So the unmanifested, universal, conscious energy gave rise to the manifested human, but I'm now bringing in a different way of understanding this whole thing, but with a limited mind. The mind is very limited. And this instrument called the mind cannot become the limitless. How can the limited become the limitless, the eternal? But yet it makes it a goal. That is what the problem is. The limited trying to make the limitless a goal. The one which is encapsulated in time is trying to become the timeless, the eternal, but all in the mind. So basically we understand that the instrument is faulty. And so the instrument has to be dropped. And when we drop this psychological mind, then the universal conscious energy is recovered. You can use the word discovered if you like, whatever word suits you, it doesn't matter. And till then, it remains the lost kingdom that has been referred to in the Bible. So the mind actually is like the proverbial dog trying to catch its own tail, but never succeeds. So as long as we remain trapped in the mind, we are not going to succeed. We use the mind for our daily living, for survival and all that kind of stuff, material aspects of life. But the moment we use this instrument in a wrong way, we're continuing to go down the wrong path. When Emily Snow refers to clinging, it's so simple. That which clings is the mind. As we already showed, right in the beginning, the pleasant and unpleasant phenomena. And so no mind is again goes into there's no clinging. So that which clings is the mind. And if there's no clinging, there's no suffering. And by clinging, here what we mean is attachment to the self and to thoughts. Again, psychological thoughts. And then, of course, the entire write-up by Emily Snow has various spiritualists saying the same thing. The word Rigpa that is alluded to in that entire writing means the primordial awareness. The natural state is primordial awareness. So at the end of it all, and coming down to Christian's write-up, it's the same theme. How do we, unite the manifested with the unmanifested? First of all, we need to observe. Unless we observe, it's like a doctor, you've got to have good observation power. Without that, you can't come to a right diagnosis. So this faculty that is given to all of us, the power of the witnessing consciousness, is what we need to use. And that is the key to ultimately freeing ourselves once and for all. That's all for me right now.
That was amazing today, Vinod. Not that your other speeches are not amazing, but that was really amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a few minutes for any, party.
So I'm going back to the
Bharti. Sorry, Bharti.
okay. Passage that
Continue.
Narendra had posted some time back by Doctor is knowledge. We all have this knowledge of whatever we talked about today. But the next point in that is how do we use it? What is the action that needs to follow? And Christian's write-up has given us, again, a pointer in that observe, be mindful. And it's for us to really put it into action. Don't remain at this knowledge state and practice, as Andre also put it. Where is your practice? Not just the words that you hear or tell yourself. You need to put it into practice. And when you practice enough, it's like driving. Initially, especially the cars in India at one time, they had this practice clutch and accelerator and brake, and it was so confusing to learn driving at that time. Now with automatic cars, all that is gone, history. But once you start doing it, it becomes second nature. You don't even think. You can be doing talking, you can be answering phone calls and driving at the same time because it's second nature. So I think when we practice again and again, it will be our second nature. We will be that 100%. That we don't have to chase any goals. We realize that we are already that. That is what I feel.
I love that, Bharti. What did you say? I really loved it.
Vidya also had her hand.
Well, I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, anyway, you were talking about detachment. I feel detachment is the main thing. Detachment from everything is the main thing to go near or to have enlightenment, but it will not happen because because the rays of enlightenment should hit you. Then only you can be free of all these things, and you are free. This is what I feel every day. Detachment to everything, detachment to everything. So as Bharti said, every minute, next minute is different minute, different thing. Next minute is different thing. So you are detaching it with all the things happening to you, and you are selfless. Your your ego is gone. This is what one feels. I don't know whether I'm right, wrong, because I'm not very articulate in these things.
Yeah, but I do want to say something about that. I think I read somewhere, I don't know who it was or whether it's just made up or whatever, but there was a holy man who said, I have priests coming to me asking for advice, and all they do is talk about sex. And then I have those street women coming to me, and all they do is talk about God. And I think there's just so much wisdom in that, because when we just say, I need to be detached, we are already attached. Whereas if we, as I tried to say in the earlier, if we can't help, like the bee, to flee, to go towards the flower, we can't help it. We are helpless. But we have one advantage over the bee: we can observe our sticky fingers. So it's not of course, it would be nice if actions are ethical. I get it, but in a sense, what we really want to accomplish here with our practice is to just get rid of it. And I am told in India there are those dark sciences, where I think some people even put Ramakrishna into that bucket. They are willing to even deal with the dark stuff just in order to break free from all that. So I just wanted to add that.
You have a minute to listen to this.
Sure.
2 minutes.
There was one blacksmith, a very small shack he had, and he had a dream that, and the God comes and sees him. And then the blacksmith says, please come and see me at my place. And God says, yes, I will do this. Premchand's story. So the blacksmith gets up in the morning, early morning, takes a good bath and all that, cleans this shack, and he is looking for the God. And then there is something that happens. There is an accident on the road. He goes and helps the person, takes him away. There's some other event. Some animal is getting stressed, so he goes and relieves that and comes back quickly. God is going to come, and so three or four things happen like that. And then he comes back and waits. By that time, it's night. And then he goes into his prayer and he says, God, you promised, but you never came. And God said, I came there 3 times. And every time you helped. And you were observant. So I think it's a very good example of observation, really. I think
I think one of the problems with this word practice, the way it is usually understood, is sit on the cushion. And the Buddhists love that. And the whole thing is, I've gone through this Vipassana course also by Goenka, the Buddhist courses. And ultimately you come to understand that the practice is moment to moment, all moments, 24/7, because you have to keep the bulb of the witnessing consciousness on. The moment the bulb goes off, automatically, mischief can start and does start. And that's why it's so important that the only thing, if you like to use the word practice, is to continue trying to keep this bulb on of the witnessing consciousness, awareness, whatever you like to call it, observation, etc. And that is the key. And this is something not coming from me. It's something that you can do on your own and convince yourself, if you want to, that is what works. I've gone through tremendous amount of work in my life in trying to recover myself. And, it all started with idol worship and all the bhajans and all the prayers, all the pilgrimages, and so on, gurus and whatnot. And at the end of it all, the one that really helps to free oneself is this simple little thing which we can do moment to moment, all the time.
That's why I say no to ritualistic things. No rituals. Rituals bind you and you're constantly into it and nothing happens. So if you are not into rituals, best way.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing. And you see that rituals, they drop out. You don't have to do a thing. They just drop out. It's as simple as
They
that.
just drop out, yes.
Yeah, and I still love those rituals for their beauty, for their richness, for the art, for the culture, for the social aspects. We can do that, there's nothing against it in that way. But to think that the problem is fear. Oh, if I don't do this, something will happen to me. That is nonsense. And that's why, as long as you live a life saying God fearing, there's a problem. And the moment you say God loving, it's something totally different.
If rituals get hold of your psyche, then there is a problem.
Right.
You have to call your press in the morning, say, I got on the right side of the bed up. Am I right? I said, no, it's not. You should have got up on the other side. Come and do your penis, come. And then there is a problem. This is what has happened in the whole country.
Right.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
Buddhist, we attended, sorry, 1 minute. We attended one Buddhist workshop some years back. And it was so ritualistic. My God, we just didn't feel like attending it again. It's better to be completely on your own. Not as you are not even your own ritual.
Well,
this is what I feel.
In 1972,
all rituals
I walked into a pandal.
All rituals have a meaning. We don't know the meaning. And we don't even really need to know the meaning. But if you want to continue with rituals, no harm, provided you know the meaning and you exercise that, not doing it again blindly. And so, the waving of the camphor and the ringing of the bells and, everything has meaning. We don't do it that way. We do it mindlessly in any case. So then that's where, we have a problem. Anyway, I think we guys need to call it a day.
Yes.
So
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
The next will be Andre.
Thank you.
Andre?
Thanks, Christian, for a nice session.
So and I will send the.
Nice to see you after a long time.
All right, I will send the poster around to everyone.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll hear from Andre. All right. Bye.
I got it. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.